Just ahead on CTV News tonight, the Supreme Court rules he's in. Plus, leaders call for a ceasefire in Gaza.
Today I saw a video of a father in northern Gaza looking through the trash, and he found treasure, rotten potatoes.
And Greek life is suspended for some at UMD.
21 fraternities and 16 sororities at the University of Maryland have been told they're indefinitely suspended while the university investigates reports of misconduct. I've got the story coming up on CTV News.
And the Commanders announce another name change. All that and more, up next.
Good evening. I'm Patricia Vallone with a CTV News update. Well, the U.S. Supreme Court rules that former President Donald Trump can stay on the Colorado presidential primary ballot. The unanimous vote from the High Court says that states like Colorado cannot remove Trump from the ballot over his actions leading up to the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. The Colorado Supreme Court had ruled that a provision in the 14th Amendment known as the Insurrectionist Clause prevents Trump from serving as president again. But the Supreme Court says that only Congress can determine how the 14th Amendment's provision can be enforced and not states. The decision comes just a day before Super Tuesday, when 16 states and 1 territory vote in their presidential primaries. Well, several lawmakers and a host of other organizations call on the Maryland legislature to adopt a Gaza ceasefire resolution. The group held an interfaith news conference this morning in Annapolis, urging lawmakers to support an immediate and long-term ceasefire, return all of the hostages, and delivery of adequate humanitarian aid to the Palestinian people.
We cannot stand by while innocent civilians and children continue to be indiscriminately bombed and deprived of basic needs such as food, water, sanitation, and medical assistance.
If death doesn't reach these children through snipers and bombs from Israel, they reach them through starvation and disease.
There is one Catholic church in Gaza, the Church of the Holy Family. Over 600 people have been sheltering there since the beginning of the bombing of Gaza, and they've been without food now for weeks.
Over 70 cities and other local governments across the U.S. have passed ceasefire resolutions. 75 members of Congress have called for a ceasefire. And Kamala Harris just called for an immediate ceasefire.
The interfaith group has also called on lawmakers and legislative caucuses to take a public stand on the issue. Well, the Senate race between Angela Alsobrooks and David Trone is getting heated. At a candidates forum on Saturday, Alsobrooks said that Trone, quote, is trying to buy the election. Trone responded that his money gives him independence from special interest contributors. Trone reportedly spent more than $23 million on his campaign so far and plans to spend an additional $30 million before the May 14th primary. Alsobrooks has raised $5 million and spent $1.8 million since May. Meantime, Alsobrooks is also criticizing former Governor Larry Hogan for holding a virtual campaign fundraiser with Senator John Thune, a strong supporter of a national abortion ban. Hogan has said he would not support an abortion ban, but Alsobrooks says Marylanders won't be fooled. In a statement, she says Hogan is aligning himself with Republicans who support a national abortion ban, and that unlike Hogan, she would fight for the women's freedoms in the Senate. The Interfraternity Council and Pan-Hellenic Association chapter members at the University of Maryland received cease and desist orders Friday. Maria Gilad is in College Park with the story.
The University of Maryland has suspended all fraternity and sorority activities while officials investigate multiple reports of unsafe activities. A letter announcing the suspension referred to the alleged misconduct as activities that have threatened the safety and well-being of members of the university community. During the indefinite suspension, 21 fraternities and 16 sororities are prohibited from any contact with new or prospective members and barred from holding any events where alcohol is present. The suspension comes 1 month after fraternity and sorority recruitment has ended, and many organizations are ready to initiate their new members.
It's kind of disappointing for us. Obviously, we just want everything to go back to normal. My sorority is taking it very seriously, and I have a lot of respect to everyone on exec for taking it seriously. It means a lot that they're looking out for us, and we also have nationals taking care of us, so that's good. They're all involved.
UMD officials say they will be conducting a thorough investigation of the reports of misconduct. From College Park, Mariah Jalad, CTV News.
And chapters were also told that any violations of the cease and desist order would result in disciplinary action. The mandate does not include the National Pan-Hellenic Council or the Multicultural Greek Council. Well, the Purple Line saga continues as the project is being delayed once again and is in need of more money. According to Maryland Matters, the Maryland Transit Administration is expected to ask for an additional $425 million for the Purple Line project. Reports indicate that the money is related to delays from utility work that was done on the light rail. The completion deadline is also expected to be pushed to December of 2027. The Purple Line, which will have 21 stations connecting New Carrollton to Metro Station to the Bethesda Station in Montgomery County. And police are investigating a fatal shooting that happened over the weekend. Officers responded to the 6700 block of New Hampshire Avenue at 7:15 yesterday morning for the report of a shooting. That's where they found an adult male in the stairwell of the Tacoma Towers apartment building suffering from a gunshot wound. He was pronounced dead on the scene. The detectives are working to determine a motive and identify a suspect. Anyone with information on the case is asked to call 301-516-2512. And you are watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone. County lawmakers rallied together in support of 2 bills that would give the county more discretion in how to fund schools and help close a looming budget deficit. And a lawmaker in Maryland speaks about the disproportionately harmful effects of menthol cigarettes in the Black community. We'll have those stories next when we return.
We hear the stories of people forced to abandon their home. The stories of people whose dreams have been swept away, or their lives left hanging by a thread. Or whose worlds have been blasted apart. Although the stories repeat themselves, each person's experience is unique as they are. And whether it's care or community that people need, we're here to help them live a new chapter, to embrace what makes them unique, be a lifeline to the most vulnerable.
Out! Out! Everybody out! Come on!
Good job. Under 2 minutes.
Keep your loved ones safe from home fires. Practice a 2-minute drill until it's part of your routine. And test your smoke alarms monthly.
In America, millions of families are facing hunger. After rent and power, I can get groceries. It's sad to say food comes last. Anna from Texas. The Feeding America network of food banks helps provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Together, we can end hunger. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Welcome back. Well, Prince George's police investigate a fatal collision that occurred Sunday afternoon around 7:30 p.m. in the unincorporated section of Hyattsville. The deceased driver is 29-year-old Eloy Ramirez of Hyattsville. Now, the preliminary investigation reveals Ramirez was traveling northbound on Landover Road when he lost control and ultimately struck a tree. Anyone with information on the case is asked to call the Collision Analysis and Reconstruction Unit at 301-731-4422. Well, Maryland House members from Prince George's support two bills that would give County Executive Angela Alsobrooks more freedom over choosing how to fund schools. The bills would expand county use of money from local telecommunications and energy taxes to help cover costs coming from the Blueprint plan and close the county's $171 million deficit.
By us broadening the definition of education, that would allow the county to be able to utilize the revenue from these two taxes that have already existed for the last 20 years towards the Blueprint funding that the county is obligated to remit each year to the state. So, you know, that money isn't going to go to other things, which I know has been some topic, you know, people have mentioned. It's still going to go to education, but it can also go not just to the operating budget of the school system, but could also be applied to satisfy the county's Blueprint obligations.
And currently, the taxes can be spent on operating expenses and other categories such as staff salaries and special education. Well, as we reported last week, days before the Maryland State House and its surrounding government buildings were put on lockdown, the General Assembly had entered into a contract for a new text emergency system. According to reports, the Maryland legislature began a contract with Motorola Solutions last week to provide emergency text alerts. The new system is expected to be in place by April. And as we reported, Maryland Capitol Police put the State House, including the governor's mansion, House, and state office buildings on lockdown last Thursday because of a threatening phone call. While many states consider menthol cigarette bans as federal officials delay action, similar bills have stalled in Maryland in the past. Menthol cigarettes can be more addictive than regular ones because they are easier to inhale. It's a concern for some in the African American community because more than 80% of black smokers use menthol cigarettes. According to the CDC, that means they're more likely to die of a smoking-related disease. That's exactly what happened to Senator Joanne Benson's husband, who became a chain smoker while serving overseas.
As a result of his smoking, he developed lung cancer, and it killed my husband. Cigarettes of any kind, whether they're menthol or not, is detrimental to the health and well-being of any individual. But I do take it very personal.
In Maryland currently prohibits the sale of flavored e-cigarettes, but there is an exemption for menthol-flavored products. Lawmakers have unsuccessfully tried to close that loophole since 2020. Well, today the Maryland Judiciary will resume funding the pretrial home detention monitoring program that suddenly ended mid-February. The reinstated program will cover the $450 a month cost of private home detention for new defendants and the 650 people using the service when it ended last month. The program was terminated due to federal funding limits, but a judiciary spokesman says prior funding concerns have been resolved. The judiciary expects the program to run through fiscal year 2025. Police arrest a suspect in connection with a fatal shooting that occurred in late November. He's been identified as 40-year-old Gregory Patterson. On November 27th, just before 8:30 a.m., officers responded to a shooting in the 1700 block of Kenilworth Avenue in Capitol Heights. That's where they found 57-year-old Donald Head suffering from gunshot wounds. He was taken to the hospital where he later died. Patterson was taken into custody in the district and is awaiting extradition to Prince George's. He faces first and second-degree murder charges. Well, as we honor Women's History Month, join CTV News all month long as we introduce you to trailblazers and history makers, as well as some extraordinary women in and around Prince George's County. And now here's Simon Buggs to tell us what's coming up in sports. Simon?
What's up, everyone? We got a packed sports page for you today as a new CIAA champion is crowned and the Commanders say goodbye to the name FedEx Field. Don't move, you're going to want to see this.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 in the morning, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. He asked all his therapists to help him undertake some of the house chores. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. Remember the best planned 90 minutes of your life? Or that surprise party for your parents' golden anniversary? You get the golden planning. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
We need to go meet the guys. I'm lit. Can you drive?
Pool party at Jesse's. Can you drive? Will you drive? I'm a little toasty.
Nope.
Nope. Nope, I'm high. But I can order us a ride.
Okay.
Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different.
Thanks for staying with us. Well, Prince George's firefighters respond to a fire in Chillum. It happened in the 6500 block of Ager Road just after 4 Saturday afternoon. When they arrived, they found this Chicken Loco restaurant with flames shooting from the roof. No one was injured. Officials say that the fire was in a hood vent. The cause of it is still under investigation. Spirit Airlines has added flights to 4 new destinations from BWI Marshall Airport. The low-fare airline will now have extra nonstop flights to Boston, Portland, New Orleans, and San Diego. Spirit is the second largest carrier at BWI behind Southwest Airlines. Capacity at BWI Marshall is up 5% over last year and 2% higher than the same period in 2019 before the pandemic.
Hey there, sports fans. Get excited because it's time for your Monday Sports Page. Beginning with some NFL news, more change seems to be in store for the Washington Commanders as the stadium will be now called Commanders Field for the time being. The previous name FedEx Field is no more as the company ended their naming contract with the team. The original agreement had a contract expiring in 2026, but the shipping company exercised their opt-out provision in the deal before the end of last year. Even though FedEx ended their naming rights agreement, the company's partnership with the team is still intact. Moving on to more Commanders news, the team released tight end Logan Thomas this weekend ahead of free agency. The former 4th-round pick had been with Washington for 4 seasons, and this past season for the Burgundy and Gold, Thomas hauled in 55 catches for 496 yards and 4 touchdowns in 16 games. Washington also released offensive lineman Charles Leno Jr. Leno had been with the team for 3 seasons prior to his release. The 2018 Pro Bowler was an Iron Man, starting every game from 2015 to 2022. And this past season, Leno was limited to 13 games due to a hip injury. Moving on to college hoops, congratulations to the Fayetteville State women's and the Lincoln University men's basketball teams for winning the CIAA tournament this past weekend. The Lions came out on top versus Fayetteville State, 54-51 to capture their first title, and the Lady Broncos captured their 5th CIAA title, defeating the defending champs Elizabeth City State 64-59. Switching gears to more college hoops news, after yesterday's 71-54 loss to Indiana, the UMD women's basketball team is now the 8th seed in this season's Big Ten tournament. Maryland finished the season at 17-12, and the Lady Terps' first opponent of the tournament will be Illinois on Thursday. Moving on to the world of hockey, the Capitals fell to the Arizona Coyotes yesterday, 5-2. The Caps are now 28, 23, and 9, and will take the ice next against the Pittsburgh Penguins on Thursday. And wrapping up your Monday sports page, the Maryland men's lacrosse squad fell to Notre Dame over the weekend, 14-9. They will try and get back in the win column versus Brown on Saturday. And that is your Monday sports page. Simon Buggs, CTV Sports.
Thanks, Simon. And now let's get a quick check of our 3-day weather forecast. Tonight, we can expect some rain going into tomorrow morning and sticking around through the week. Tuesday and Wednesday, more rain with a high of 59. Thursday, that chance of rain decreases to 30% with partly cloudy skies. And now for your community calendar. Parks and Recreation is hosting a new vegetable cooking demonstration called Eating the Rainbow. The class demonstrates the art of turning seasonal vegetables into a masterpiece on your plate and understanding nutritional benefits. This particular session will showcase the delightful flavors and colors of sweet potato hash and rainbow chard. The event is free, however, registration is required. For more information, visit pgparks.com/events or call the number on your screen. And that wraps up our CTV News Update. I'm Patricia Vallone. Join us again tomorrow at 4:30. Have a great night.
Happy retirement, Dad.
Thank you very much.
So, Dad, what are you gonna do now?
Some couples do back-to-back cruises.
No way. That's too
Passive.
I bet you guys won't last 5 months in the house all alone.
Well, we just miss being around kids.
And we aren't done yet.
Milton Hershey School house parents. What's that? So you want teenagers again?
That's a full house.
Well, you kids turned out all right.
Yeah, and this way we get to give that gift again. A bit longer.
Don't you want to save?
How will you afford to move?
Can we even visit you guys while you're in Hershey?
Oh, you can come visit. And the school will pay for us to relocate.
And we'll save even more money because we won't have to pay for housing, utilities, and meals.
And the school provides everything we need to make a difference in these kids' lives.
We won't be alone. There'll be people like us from all over the country helping care for these students.
You're set on it, aren't you?
Absolutely.
It's a new chapter for you, and the kids who deserve one too. Discover what's next at Milton Hershey School.
The power of the knock is food. Your stew's delicious. I'm 88 years old, and I was with the Ice Capades when I was young. Now, being as old as I am, I lose balance. I don't like ending up this way, but what am I going to do? I got Meals on Wheels for the 5 years that I've been here. It's nice to know they come, and if you feel like talking, you can talk to them. I could talk for forever. They're totally a blessing.